Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is Sunday, May 23rd. We are continuing our series of mental health, depression, all of that stuff, anxiety, stress. Like I was saying in my previous video, I don't know much about bipolar and schizophrenic, which are two really hardcore, deep, serious mental illness. I'm trying to do my research on it. I've known a couple of people that are schizophrenic. My friend's brother's schizophrenic, and I've seen the things that he has gone through. And I know it's been really hard on the family for years and years. I want to say he's in his 40s, but don't quote me on that. I really don't know. It's been really hard on the family, but I guess they've had to just adapt. I mean, what more can you do? When he's on medication, he's really, really good. When he's not, it's really hard to draw him back in. It's really hard to get help, like to get someone into mental recovery, or I don't know how you would call it, because I know one time he had I don't know if he stopped taking his medication or he didn't have any more. I'm going years back, so I'm trying to remember the exact thing, but she started to see signs where he wasn't doing well. She would go in his room and he had all like these knives like hanging from the ceiling. I mean, full of knives. And then just the way he would look at her and act. I guess they just knew because he had schizophrenic for a long, long time. So they kind of knew when he was off his medication or for whatever reason not doing well. And so I don't remember. I think I peeked in the room and I saw the knives and I was like, whoa, this is a lot, and he's such a really nice guy. And I remember one time sitting at the table at my friend's house and I asked him, I said, so do you remember what you do when you're not on medication and you're not doing well? He's like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, really? That was a shocking answer to me because I thought they really didn't know. And maybe for some people they don't. Maybe each person is different. Maybe there's a spectrum. That's why I really want to research it to know what I'm talking about. But I was shocked that he said he did. He says, I do, but I guess what he was saying, it's not in his control, what he says and what he does. And he doesn't want to feel that way or go through those things. He would love a normal life, but what can you do? This is what he has, and he just tries to live life the best way he can. And so I was like, wow. I'm like, so this must be really hard. He goes, it's really hard because you want to be on your medication. Sometimes you run out of medication. And I believe he said something about, not being able to access it. I don't know if it was because of insurance or whatever. And I know one of the times he had an episode, my friend tried to get him in like I don't want to say rehab, just like a recovery for him, to get him in the hospital, to get him back on track, for him to rest, physically and mentally, emotionally, and to get going on his medication again and to get back on track so he could come back out and be, himself again. And she had a really hard time getting that help. And again, this is years and years ago, so I don't know if it's because of insurance issues or there's just so many people, or you have to go through a lot of protocol to get help. I really want to look into it. So that was him, and I see him every blue moon out and about. I think the last time was maybe last year. He has a friend that actually lives across the street from us, and he visited once, and I didn't recognize him at first, but my husband's like, you know who that is, right? And I'm like, no. And so he said his name, and I said, oh, wow, from the distance, he looked like he was good, but you don't know. I didn't want to be staring or paying attention. And I really haven't been with my friend for a long time. She moved to another city, and her life is go, go, go. Our lives just are in two different paths. So we don't get together. We don't even call each other. But when we do see each other, we're really happy to see each other. We wish each other well. Yeah, so I haven't been updated in a long time on her brother's situation, but I always wish him well because when he's himself, he's really seems like a really sweet, nice guy that you just root for them. You just want them to be good because it must be really hard. another person that I knew, this was going now way back. This is like in the 80s, early 80s. Um, my a church that one of my siblings go to, um, there was like at least three people that I knew in that church that had schizophrenic. And but at first nobody told me. So I remember him coming to my brother's door and him saying, "Do you see the birds? Do you see the birds? Look at all the birds. They're coming to attack us," or something to that effect. And I was like, "The birds? And coming to attack us?" And I was like, what is going on? I was a teenager. I had never even heard of schizophrenic, much less what it was all about. And I was like, oh my God, what is he talking about? It wasn't, I see his face because I could see him, my brother talking to him. And I could see what he was saying and how he was reacting. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. And I was like, what is going on? And that's when I'll say my brother. I wasn't planning to say, I was just going to say a sibling. He's like, yeah. I'm like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, oh my God, my heart just went out, but I didn't know why my heart was going out because I didn't know why he was acting like that. And he goes, he's schizophrenic. And I'm like, what is schizophrenic? And that's when he explained to me, he goes, he went on a trip and he thought he could do okay with missing one dose of his medication, and obviously he can't. And so these are some of the things that he says that are off the deep end that aren't really reality and stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, and my heart just like went out to him because I mean, I've known him for years and he was a sweet guy and I never saw him go through an episode like that. So that's the last I heard of his situation. So I'm hearing things and seeing things like in spots, not really dabbing into it or really exposing myself to seeing on the daily what it's about. And then I heard of another person in that church that, she had to hide herself in her closet because her husband was schizophrenic and he had his episodes and he was trying to kill her and he was trying to lock her in the house and all this stuff. I wasn't there. I heard the story throughout the church. And I was like, what? So I would hear pieces of what kind of episodes people could have. And so I was like, whoa, I'm glad she's okay. They eventually, I believe, divorced, not because of that specific episode. I think he ended up getting the help. But I think with the years, they divorced for other reasons. And probably that had a lot to do with it, but it wasn't like, okay, boom, that's it, I'm out of here. But it was shortly after. And then another person, who was the other person? Oh, in the same church. There's actually 4 people. There could have been more, but, and I'm not laughing at that situation at all. I'm just laughing that my memory's starting to come back to me because we're talking late 70s, early 80s. And, sometimes, I'm remembering things in the moments. I laugh at myself because I'm remembering things in the moment. And I think he had schizophrenic, but he was also in the military. I can't remember which he had first or which he had second. I'm sure he probably went to the military first. I don't know. People were very secretive, so they didn't tell you a lot. And so one day in the middle of the church, all of a sudden he goes and like he has a machine gun and he's shooting everybody. And I believe that was PTSD from the military and being in the war and stuff like that. But I was also told he was on medication for schizophrenic as well. That was the only episode I saw of that guy. And then I heard of another lady, a pastor's wife. She had it, but I never saw an episode of her or heard anything, just that she was on it, that she was schizophrenic and she had to be on medication. But I've never seen anything or heard anything that went crazy with her. So those are, and then I saw the movie with Diana Ross. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. It's a really good movie. I'm going to find it and I say link. I don't even know how to do links. I got to really learn how to do links. I'll just put names and descriptions and explanations in the description bar. So that's to me what links are. But I'll put the name of the movie I can't remember what other actors are in the movie, but the main actress, of course, is Diana Ross, and she plays somebody who has schizophrenic and what they go through. And I think there's one episode in the movie where she's getting coffee, and she keeps pouring and pouring and pouring the sugar like crazy. And her mom, you know, you don't try to, I guess you don't want to push them so much, but you don't want them to go off either. So she's like, oh my God. So she mentions how much she keeps putting and putting it, and then she kind of loses it, and then she's walking down the street naked. I say naked. She's walking down the street, and again, I'm laughing at because I say these certain words a certain way, and my friend and my family are like, "Oh my God, naked, like a neck, naked." So if you hear that, a lot of people don't notice it, but it's like eyebrows. I should say eyebrows, but I say eyebrows, like bras. I have this funny way of saying stuff. But yeah, so she ends up losing it and walking down the street naked, naked. And so, yeah, so I can't remember too much of the movie. I want to find the movie again, and I want to re-see it because it's been years and years since I saw the movie. And then the other movie is Beautiful Mind, of course, which is one of my favorites. It's with Russell Crowe. If you haven't seen Beautiful Mind, which I don't know who hasn't, it was really a hit movie. It was famous. I'm pretty sure, and it was based on a true story. And after the movie was made, I think in the end of the movie, there's an interview with the actual I forget his name in the movie, and in real life. There's an interview with him and his wife and what they went through and how she stayed with them. She stayed with them to the very, very end. And I believe they were killed in a taxi in New York in real life, in an accident. But don't quote me on that. I'm remembering again bits and pieces. So, yeah, so the movie was based on his life, and he received the Nobel Peace Prize. And it's really intense. If you really want to know about schizophrenic and learn what it is that they go through, the euphoria, and what it is that things that they say and do, and how you see them leaving. And one of his things was he was taking the medication, but he couldn't perform sexually, and he felt like he wasn't making his wife happy. And so he would pretend he was taking the medication and hide it in a drawer. And of course, he had an episode, and then the wife kind of didn't, but he was okay, so I just got a call which interrupted my video, but that was good because it gave me time to look it up really quick. The Beautiful Mind movie, which again is with Russell Crowe, it was based on the true story or the life story of John Nash, which, like I said, was a mathematician. He was a genius. He was on the board of highly acclaimed because of something that he discovered being a mathematician, being a genius. He had like a huge discovery. I mean, he was what they said he could work for NASA. I mean, he was just a genius, and he had discovered something really huge when all the schizophrenics started to happen, and his wife was named Sylvia. So, and she was with him to the very end. She went through all these episodes where they even had a baby, and there's an episode which shows where she left him with the baby, but then the baby almost drowned because he didn't stop the water. It kept going and going, and so she got afraid, and she didn't know what was happening. So I don't want to tell you the whole movie, but yeah, it's a beautiful movie, which perfectly tells a story, a true story of somebody who suffered schizophrenia, and what it's all about and what people go through as a couple, as a family. And so, yeah, she stuck with him to the end. And I think they were still alive when the movie had finished. And I think there's an interview in the end with the real John Nash. And like I said, he won a Nobel Peace Prize. And I think a year or so later, I think they were together in the taxi in an accident. They both died. So I highly recommend it. Please go see Beautiful Mind. It's just amazing. It's one of my favorite in my collection. It's just a movie that will capture you from beginning to end. You'll learn so much about schizophrenia and mental health and all that stuff. The other one that I was saying with Diana Ross, it's called Out of Darkness. I can't remember what it was called. It's actually their 20th anniversary. That's how long it's been out. I want to say Billy D. Williams is in it because I saw an episode and I thought that was him. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But this shows, and I guess she has a daughter in the movie, and she was also like really, 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 really smart, and they looked up to her, and you know, she was going places. I mean, she was gonna really do something with her life when this hit her, and you see the effects that it has on the family, in this case her daughter and her mother and her sister, who that was her hero and stuff like that. So you see what what the family goes through as far as parents and siblings and children, what they go through. I don't think she has a partner in this movie until, if I'm not mistaken, Billy D. Williams. If not, it's somebody who looks a lot like him, wants to have a relationship with her, but she has to let him know, you know, you need to know, you know, I have paranoia, schizophrenia. And so he's like, impossible, because, you know, you can see somebody that look very normal from the outside, but mental illness, that's what mental illness is. The person can looks really normal from the outside. It could be the person that's the strongest person. You're like, oh, that person is so strong. Nothing can affect her or him. Nothing can get to them. They'll survive anything. Sometimes those are the people that mostly go through mental illness and need help. So that's why they say check on your friends, check on your family, because the person that to you could be the strongest person you know, or the person that has it all together, could be falling apart, could be going through either these type of mental illness like schizophrenia and bipolar. So yes, I think it's like only 4 or 5 people that I've known, and I've seen bits and pieces of them being schizophrenic. And then as far as movies, this one is one, Beautiful Mind. Highly recommend it. You should definitely see it. Out of Darkness, definitely recommend it as well. I don't have that in my movie collection. I have a huge movie collection. I don't have that one. I'm gonna try to get. I thought I tried to get it once and I couldn't find it for some reason, but I'm gonna try to order and get it and re-see it again. It's been a long time since I've seen that one, and every now and then I'll pull out Beautiful Mind, like every year, 2 years. I try to pull it out and just revisit it. It's just 2 really, really good movies that if you want to learn about mental illness, schizophrenia in particular, these are the movies to see. The Beautiful Mind is produced by Ron Howard, who did Happy Days. He was really good. He really produced this movie in such an amazing way, and, you know, brought to life John Nash's story. So yeah, I don't know who actually produces the Out of Darkness with Diana Ross, but I mean, she's of course an amazing singer and amazing actress, so of course she did not fail in this movie. So yes, as far as movies, and if you want to know more about mental health and schizophrenia in particular, get, rent, watch, buy, whatever, the movies Beautiful Mind and Out of Darkness with Diana Ross. Bipolar, I only, maybe a couple of people in my life that I don't really know the depth of their story, but I was told that they had bipolar. One told me directly I have bipolar, and I remember asking her what happens, like my personality changes. So it's more so like in personality changing type of thing. But again, I don't know. These are things that I want to research, that I want to really study and, you know, get as much info as possible to share it with you, and just for my own self, you know, just to educate myself. And then, of course, mental illness goes beyond schizophrenic and bipolar. You have depression, anxiety, stress, all that stuff. Depression is huge. I used to didn't think that depression had anything to do with mental illness. I just thought it was something that you went through depending on what you were going through in life. But no, it's definitely part of mental illness. And it's one of the phrases I was telling you in my last video about one of the YouTubers, which she was a van lifer. And I kind of told you a couple of pieces. I was getting ready to go into the store, and I kind of went another way in my video. And so I realized after I uploaded the video, oh, I didn't finish telling them about her. She was a YouTuber, a van lifer. These people travel, they kind of convert their vans into homes and they travel the world. In this case, she traveled with her then partner Max and their dog Occy, and they went to Panama, Costa Rica, Spain. I mean, just all over the world in their van. I mean, these people don't have to be in their van. They're not homeless people. They don't have to be in the van. They actually have homes and they have money to live a normal life in a home and they have all these good jobs and stuff like that. These people are, oh, they're homeless, that's why they're living in their van. No, I'm sure there's people that are homeless that do live in a van, and at least they have a place to really lie their head in, which homeless isn't fun. I know, I've been there, but that's not, in this case on YouTube, van lifers are people that definitely had a home and a life and job and they could totally go back to it. They're just using this as a way to travel. It saves money on paying rent or mortgage and all this stuff, and they dedicate their life to just traveling across the world in their van. And inside the van, they convert it into a tiny home, which is amazing. And there's so many van lifers out there. One of my favorites is Susie Cruz. She's a young girl, I think almost in her mid or late 20s. Again, don't have to, she owns her own condo in Germany. She's Chinese, but she was born in Germany. So she doesn't have to be there, but this is something that was calling her and she really wanted to live this lifestyle. And then of course, one of my others was Max and Lee and their dog Occy, and I was with them from the beginning to the end. And then during the year of the pandemic 2020, for some reason they never said exactly why, they went their separate ways, and I was shocked because they just seemed like they loved each other so much and they had the same goals and the same interests. And I mean, there was no signs of this was gonna end. It was just like shocking to everybody, but they did. I think the pandemic hit a lot of people hard in different ways, and I think this may have affected them to completely having to shut down. They couldn't travel anymore in their van. They had to go to a certain place. She was from Canada, he's from Australia, so they had to pick a place and stay put during the pandemic, so they couldn't travel in their van anymore. And I think this eventually took a toll on their mental health, and they decided to part ways. But they used their channel, YouTube channel, as a launching pad to start their own channels. So they ended on good terms and they were best friends and they were helping each other. She had to take care of the dog Occy for like 6 months because of the pandemic. He had to go through all these quarantine and all these protocols in order to get back to Australia to Max, which was his dog from the very beginning, even before he was with Lee. So she was kind enough to take care of Occy until Occy went through all the protocol and all the pandemic and COVID-19 rules. And then finally he was able to get back to Max. And then they still wanted to use their channel, Max and Lee, as launching pads to their own channel, which she created a channel called Life with Lee. And then his new one became Max and Occy, which was his dog. So before they separated, she was already talking about how she started to have severe depression and anxiety and stress. This wasn't something that she grew up with at all. She didn't grow up, even in her early 20s, as a person with mental illness or depression. This like hit her all of a sudden. And I think Max was saying it hit her like maybe their second year in their relationship. It just popped up like all of a sudden, and it was really severe for her. And she did different videos explaining what she was feeling, the emotional stuff, the emotional thoughts, the emotional feelings that she was going through. And I think she did an amazing video explaining her depression and what she was feeling and thinking. And I think that video, it's still up and it's very useful. If you know anybody going through mental illness and depression, I think it's very useful to know you're not alone. There's so many people out there. And people were really hard on her. She got bullied online. I think some of the bullying was saying that she cheated on Max, which nobody knows that. No, they never said why they separated ways. And even if that was the case, that's their business. We are no one to judge. And And so they had these people that I guess they do channels that they're called roast. They roast people, which I just feel like nobody should be bullied. If you don't have anything positive to say, if you don't like the life that she lives, which is a van life, and I guess they were telling her she was privileged. How can you possibly go through depression? How can you possibly complain when you have a great life, traveling the world, you're healthy, you're beautiful, you have family, you have friends, you have money, you're traveling the world. How can you be depressed? And that's not what it's about. Because you could, like I said, it could be the strongest person that nothing could affect them, nothing could get to them. They are so strong. Those are mostly the people that are feeling depression. Like they say, clowns, they're here to make you laugh, but clowns are the saddest people deep inside, but they know how to make people laugh. And you're like, how can they make other people laugh, but they can't make themselves laugh or make themselves happy? So it's weird. Robin Williams is a perfect example. He just was such an amazing actor, an amazing comedian, and he lived, Oprah Winfrey said one time, he was the hardest person she's ever had on her show. He's intense. She said he was intense. He was on every second. She couldn't get like a word through or get through the episode because he was constantly joking and making her laugh. And it was like he had control over the show. She said it would just made my body hurt, even though it was a good thing to make her laugh. And she loved Robin Williams and she loved having him on the show. It was just, she said when she was done with the show, her body actually physically hurt from interviewing him and having him on the show, because he was constantly making people laugh, 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 laugh. He didn't take a moment, a space, a break to like be serious. And you're like, how could he commit suicide? When he was rich, he was famous, he was an amazing actor, he had it all together, he made people laugh, and then he goes and commits suicide. So people don't understand that. That's why it's so important to learn, educate yourself, research, learn about mental health. Whether you know somebody or not that's going through mental health, because you never know when it can present itself in your family, in your life, just to find out why people go through this. And like I said, it's mostly those people that are the strongest people or that have it all together, that have people feel like if you have money, you should not even be thinking about depression. How can you go to depression when you have money? But money doesn't bring you happiness. Money doesn't fix everything. Sometimes the poorest people, the most humble people, are the ones that will survive more than even people with money and fame and that have their whole life together. Like in this case with Lee, you have family and friends, support, you have money, you have a good life, you're traveling the world, you're beautiful. She was into yoga, into meditation. She ate healthy. She exercised. She did all the right things. She had all the family support through this mental illness. A lot of friendships that supported her. She had professional help. She sought professional help big time. Like I said, she was into being healthy, yoga, meditation, eating healthy, doing all these healthy things. I don't know how much more you can do. And still her depression was so severe. So, so Robin Williams, again, he's another one that's a perfect example. So that's why they say check in on your friends and your family, no matter how strong they are, no matter if you think that's the one that has it all together. Just check on them, because you just never know what someone is going through. And so in Lee's case, just so that I don't forget to talk about Lee, because I did this in the last video. So I guess in their second year of their relationship, she was starting to feel this, and she finally decided to go on camera and talk about it, maybe hoping that it could help someone else. And you could see her barely getting through the video, but she also did separate videos where there's one particular video. I'm going to try to remember to put all this in the description bars. Her and Max's original channels, their new channels, the name of the movies, all this stuff I'm going to try to remember to put in the description bar. But, so she had sought and found and had the very best of the help that she could possibly get. She wasn't trying to fight this alone. She was very transparent, very honest with her YouTube supporters or fans, whatever you want to call them, subscribers. And yeah, she was fighting the big fight, and eventually she lost the fight. So Lee committed suicide. I think it was it March or April? I can't remember the date. But so when her and Max separated ways, she went back to Canada. Of course, he went to Australia. And then she eventually made her way to Santa Barbara, California. And she didn't meet a new guy. She had met this gentleman on her travels with Max. And I forgot what country. I don't know if it was Panama or Spain or what. But her and Max both met this guy. And at the time, he had a girlfriend. So Max and Lee as a couple met him and his girlfriend as a couple through their van life travels. Well, they continue to travel each in their own ways. And later on, like within a year after, don't quote me on that, she caught up with him again, and they started this like beautiful friendship and this communication, which ended up becoming a relationship. And I think that's where people accused her of cheating on Max, because this was too fast to people. You know, how could she just get over Max like that? It was so stupid. It's the stupidest thing ever, because when she was with Max, I know Max was the love of her life, and she was very, very happy. And they were so good to each other and for each other. That's why it made me so sad to hear that they went their separate ways. But I was going to continue to support them each on their own channel, and continue to watching their channel together until they finally did a total break to their own channels, because I really love them both together and separately. And so, you know, they don't have to explain or prove anything to anybody. Just because you have subscribers, you don't owe them your life. You know, you owe them the content that you share, and trying to put out as much and as good as content as you can, according to what your channel is about. In this case, it was about van life. And she was kind enough to share and be transparent with her depression and mental illness, and hoping that it could help somebody else. That was something she could have kept to herself, because it's something that's so private, so sacred, but she was kind enough to share it. And so, you know, to judge someone and accuse someone of, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know, you've never met these people in person. And even if that was true, it's still none of our business. It's none of us to judge. You know, people could do what they want. Like I said, you don't have to explain or prove anything to anybody. But, you know, of course, you know, I don't believe that. And, you know, we're just happy for them. You know, whatever they decided to do in their future going forward, we were happy, and we were going to continue to support them either way. So, but I think she got bullied because of that. That was one of the subjects that I heard she was being bullied about. And then they just knew that she was going through depression. And I guess these people that have this, I guess one person in particular, sorry, my nose is running. He had a channel which was roasting people, like teasing people, which I think should not exist. I think that YouTube should make a stand. The FBI should get involved. If there's ever any online bullying or roasting, however you feel you want to call it, it should not be acceptable. It should not be acceptable, because you don't know what people are going through. You don't know if people on the edge, and you're just going to come and push them right off the edge. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to be negative. It's not necessary to bully anybody by any means. Physically, mentally, emotionally, online. Bullying is never acceptable. I know my children have been through bullying, especially my youngest daughter, years and years of severe bullying. You know, just went through a lot, but thank God, by the grace of God, she made it, and she's doing well today. You know, she finished high school, which was mainly her years of bullying. She went on to graduate from college, and she's getting married next year. So she's doing well, thank God. But she could have been a statistic. She could have been one of those that didn't make it, because of people like this that think it's funny, that think it's okay to bully people. It's not. If you don't like somebody, then don't be bothered. Go away. Go away from them. You don't have to subscribe to their channel. You don't have to support them. You don't have to be around these people physically. If you don't like somebody, go your own separate way, because the only person you're making look like an idiot is yourself. Because if you hate this person and you're bullying them, then why you keep coming around them? I mean, you're just making your own self look stupid. And so, to do this online, especially, any bullying physical, they're all 100% bad and just pure evil. But, a lot of these people will hide behind, sometimes they don't even have a photo of themselves as their profile pic. They'll have like a character or something, just the audacity to live your life doing that to other people is really mean. It's evil. It's not acceptable. And I believe YouTube should make a stand for it. And I believe the FBI should get involved. Any signs of bullying, I believe the FBI should get involved and should stop these people from doing this or having a channel or anything that would make them think it's okay to do this to people. And I guess she was being bullied so bad online, especially from this particular person. I can't even remember. Their name is like initials, so I can't even remember the name. By the time I went back to look at this person's channel, it was taken down, because immediately when she committed suicide, he was the one that was pointed to, because I guess he may have been the last person to bully her, and he was saying some really drastic, pure evil stuff to push her to the edge. And so he had to take his channel down and just go away. So nobody knows what's happening with that. But it's just not okay. It's not okay. Don't waste your time or anybody else's time. It's something that's just not right at all. I mean, how can you sleep at night? How can you have a conscience to do this to anyone? No one deserves to be bullied. If you don't like someone, if you don't like their content, then don't watch it. Watch content that you like. If you don't like van life and you think people shouldn't be living in their vans and stuff, don't watch that type of YouTube channels. Go watch home tours or food. There's so much. There's beauty. Go watch something else that you really do like and you can support. Don't bother people that you don't like. It's just not right. I could go on and on about this, but it's just because I personally experienced it with my children going through it, especially my daughter. It just makes me angry, and it hurts me to kind of relive those moments. I mean, I'm blessed that she made it, with the love and support of us, her family who had her back and protected her. And I always say by the grace of God, more importantly, and just her, thing about not letting them win, just not letting them win. And she ultimately won. But, there's still scars from those times. Even though she's not being bullied at the present day, there's still scars. There was contemplation of suicide. There was cutting. There was a lot of things that could have took her out so easy. But there's still scars and memories of, what she went through. And thank God, she's an artist, so she does art in her makeup, and that was like her security blanket. And stuff like that. She found something when they said she was ugly. She found in art and in makeup that she wasn't ugly. She knew that that wasn't true. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But back to Lee. So yeah. So she ended up being in Santa Barbara, found connection and communication with this guy that, she had met years ago on her travels. And so, was really happy for her, because she was starting to dab into new things, bicycling, just new things. And she ended up buying her own van, and she was starting the conversion of that new van. It was her own first van purchase that she did all by herself on her own. She was so happy about it and felt so blessed. She had this new person in her life, which made her so happy. And she was starting the conversion, and he helped her because he did van conversions. So yeah, so life was looking up for her, but still she was dealing with this hardcore depression. So I'm going to cut my clip real here. I either will continue this video or add it to another video, because I got some guest